Alright, here we are, we're back. Got this big sketchbook out, and pretty in the early days of inking projects. I'm going to do an inking project based on a word today, and the word is bulky. So that's what we've got to work with. And these pens, I'm not going to use a dip pen or brush ink or anything like that. I'm going to just go real simple with these ballpoint pens. It does not get more simple than these pens right here. Fluid ink, but then also some gel ink pens, which this one is. And there you have a little thumbnail of what I'm working with. My first idea was the Incredible Hulk. I'm going to do the Incredible Bulk. But I didn't want to draw that. It seemed kind of obvious. And my second idea was a station wagon just loaded down with a big bulkiness on top with a lot of, packing or something, kind of like a Dust Bowl Exodus vehicle or something like that. But a more modern sort of 70s version of it, I guess. The station wagon didn't seem very personal, didn't seem very individual, so I switched it to a figure. But it still has this big mass of, garbage bags or cloth or something kind of put together on top of it. I don't suppose that the station wagon or the Incredible Hulk would have said much of anything artistically, and this is more expressive, I think, in the end. This figure, this person carrying a heavy burden. So I really like the way of working like this sometimes, especially if I don't feel confident enough to just go ahead and sketch with a pen, which isn't often. I really like sketching with pens. I forgive myself for little mistakes, and I like the immediacy and the just the boldness of it. I don't have a way to go back with a pen. I can only go forward, and it helps me plan. It helps me become a better drawer, but sometimes with a little thumbnail like that, a little sketch as a guide, especially if you do multiples, you can go in and make changes and you can come up with new ideas. As I was, stressing to my students going over this drawing, all of the important stuff, the important decisions that you make happen in the first 2 minutes of laying that drawing out. And it doesn't really matter if it's a real small version of that or a bigger version. And you can see this used over and over again in design and in drawings and paintings. And you can go to any museum and see studies of pieces that are made more elaborate later. And it's just a really, really good way to get better faster. I don't always make a little sketch like that to guide myself. Sometimes I just want to find my way through a drawing and I don't want to know where it's going. But especially if it's going to be designed and kind of have to make sense, I want it to be a little bit more thought out, and there's no reason to do that, full scale, full size. So we've sped up this section of the video to 500%, and this whole video gets condensed down to about 10 minutes it's about 40 minutes of drawing total. And this becomes a big sketch, basically. I think if it were a full piece, like if this were something I was going to submit for the project, I would spend twice as much time making it really work. I have that figure pretty much, filled in probably with very little highlight, and the way that this baggage ends up pretty detailed, but I would give it more shadows and just really chase the details on it. And I would figure out something to do with the background, which I don't do anything with. Ultimately, it's just blank. So double the time, you can kind of imagine some of those other things that may happen. Color, perhaps. Color is not illegal, in ink drawings, although a lot of times you'll just see them rendered in black and white. But the color of ink is one of the great joys in life, so as I go through the inking projects, I inevitably get to the point where I'm using markers or colored inks. It's just too much fun to pass up. Now I'm adding this kind of loose web tied together of ropes on this big bulk in the back. I never really thought about what's in there. Is it garbage or recycling or all the worldly possessions of this individual? I don't know. But it wouldn't stand up correctly if it weren't kind of supported or bound together in some way. And I'm thinking of hiking backpacks that have this, skeletal structure of aluminum or carbon fiber or something along to give it the structure so they can be so tall. And if you don't have, complex materials like that, you might just create a kind of rope system. And so this is more than any individual could probably carry on their back, but with those extra ropes and all that rope hanging off, it makes it a little bit more believable. At a couple of points in here, I go in and darken that figure. Pretty early on in the beginning, it started to look weird with, a generic sort of long sleeve shirt and pants. And it just seemed to me that figure needed a little bit more of expressive style. So I ended up using kind of a scribbly contour look so he could become more generic. And not really recognizable costume or a face or anything. You can see the hand kind of held up against the side of the head. It serves its purpose. It doesn't need a whole lot of detail in there for this level of drawing. I think I wanted more detail and more interesting time spent on the load itself. If I could go back, and change something, I really think I might fix the shape of the feet. Those shoes are way too big. He's like wearing clown shoes. I like the bend of the back foot, but it's a little bit too much. It's a little cartoony. But it speaks to the weight of, this baggage that we're carrying, so I'm not going to go back and fix it. We'll just leave it there, and it says what it says, and we'll leave all the accuracy for another day. I like these drawings to kind of go through and just, practice something. Take a word or take an idea and see if you can sketch it out. Make it live on the page. It may become great, or it may lead to something great. But grab those ballpoint pens, they don't have to be fancy. Cheap pen, and make it fun.